What's up, YouTube Revolution? ZombfectedGaming 349 at your fingertips. Just before we get into this topic for being one of your #1 sources for Watch Dogs related news and the upcoming Watch Dogs Legion Online, make sure you subscribe and ding the bell icon really hard so I will always stay at your fingertips. Anyways, let's jump into today's topic about the classic Watch Dogs digital trips. We are gonna be talking about the one called Alone, and I actually just came across an article on GameRant.com talking about the digital trips. This one is all about the Alone mode. If none of you ever played the digital trips at all, make sure you go and pick up a copy of Watch Dogs 1 since it's probably really cheap now, since the game will be going on 7 years old this year. But the Alone game mode is a very stealthy digital trip and gives you some horror vibes that reminds me of The Last of Us when I try to sneak past the nasty clickers and the nasty bloaters or infected in it. But only difference is, it's creepy robots that will kill you instantly with radiation. But let's get reading this article. So this article on GameRant.com, Watch Dogs Alone minigame deserves the Skull and Bones treatment. One of the digital trips found in the original Watch Dogs deserves the type of makeover Ubisoft is giving to Skull and Bones naval battles. When Watch Dogs first released, it was largely taken as a surface disappointment, which is actually topped now by Cyberpunk, of course, so I gotta say that Watch Dogs downgrade back in the day is actually nothing compared to what Cyberpunk actually did. The hype behind that one, especially 8 years worth of hype, that's pretty bad actually, because the downgrade of graphics was nothing. But okay, let's get back to this. Due in no small part to the radical promises that Ubisoft made of what next gen could do, the game never fully delivered on its promise. However, under the surface, there is quite a bit to appreciate about the final product, from the John Wick style gunplay to the minigames hidden deep in the menus as digital trips. Among these digital trips, one titled Alone might be among the best experiences that Watch Dogs as a series has produced, even compared to the sequel's innovations, similar to what Ubisoft is currently doing with expanding Assassin's Creed's naval battles in Skull and Bones. The developers should expand Alone into its own standalone title. So yeah, it says, what is Alone? It's entirely possible that some players could have made it all the way through the original Watch Dogs game and its sequels having no idea what Alone or digital trips are. These minigames were little additions made onto the first entry that allowed the player to explore 4 hacking-infused drug trips, with a 5th trip added in DLC. The Alone digital trip in particular takes Aiden Pierce into a nearly abandoned version of Chicago, referred to as the Loop, occupied by robots with cameras for heads. So yeah, these robots and stuff are the ones that can attack you with the radiation. And yeah, they kill you instantly. It's crazy. Throughout the minigame, players have to sneak into darkened areas to find the generators creating the darkness, while also avoiding the camera-headed robots. It's one of the best stealth sections in the game, playing out like an old-school Metal Gear title, complete with enemy vision cones, emphasis on staying hidden, and performing silent takedowns to infiltrate a new area. Even though the whole experience is only a few hours long, it also has its own skill tree and level progression, with enough depth and a skill window that goes above and beyond a simple minigame. Okay, so it says also too, the Skull and Bones treatment. When it comes to minigames and side features, Ubisoft goes the extra mile with activities that could be considered an annoyance in any other game. The development of Skull and Bones is proof of that. A pseudo Assassin's Creed spin-off that takes Black Flag's naval combat and makes that the central gameplay loop. It's an incredible feat to look at a system. Okay. That had been moderately successful in its first outing and astoundingly successful when reworked and design its own title around those mechanics. Wow, this is a lot of reading, I gotta say, people. While it's been a while since Ubisoft gave an update on Skull and Bones, fans of the Assassin's Creed naval battles are still excited to see what this small section of the series looks like as a full game. The whole situation is unusual as well, because there wasn't massive fan outcry for an extended naval battle, but the developer has inspired it anyway. Had Watch Dogs been given the deeper dive beyond the surface drama that plagued the first game and its promises for next gen, it's entirely possible the same could have happened for Alone. Alright, so extending Alone beyond a minigame. Looking at what Ubisoft has made already and what it would take for Alone to branch into its own title, there's quite a bit of work that would need to go into breaking its minigame status. However, this type of work is what the developer is already doing to make sure that Skull and Bones isn't a simple spin-off. The key isn't about adding more levels or making the game take longer to get through, but pushing the existing features to new heights would justify Alone as a standalone title. Sorry about that and stuff. It was a little bit hard to speak right there because there is actually a bus outside actually talking about wearing masks due to obviously the ongoing this pandemic. So yeah, let's ignore that, of course. Enhanced versions of AI are already present in Watch Dogs Legion, ranging from new recruitable characters to smarter enemies that require unique ways for the player to work around, including some of the features present in Legion. The camera head robots could be one way, add depth, or alternatively introducing a wider variety of enemies like different sized spider drones and tanks. The framework is there, and the methods for ramping up the difficulty as the player progresses through Alone is already in place, with more aggressive robots appearing the further the player advances. So yeah, basically what this could be talking about also too is that Legion could actually capitalize on this game mode and stuff too, like with adding some great stealth type stuff, like similar to Alone and stuff. I did recently a video about the about Watch Dogs Legion Online should actually bring some of the digital trips into the game because of how awesome and groundbreaking these mini games were. Like, they could actually do this. And not only that too, I can already tell that the spider bots are actually modeled after the spider tank. The way it jumps, it's very similar to the spider tank. I remember in Watch Dogs 2 there was a mission where you had to go to the this place called Titus, and you had to like hijack this spider tank thing. It's a smaller version of the spider tank, and it just goes around killing pretty much everything. So it's just an admission of that. Alright, so another part of the on GameRant.com says integrating the original Watch Dogs combat. One top of improving AI and giving enemies new ways to hunt down and capture the player. Players should have access to the depth of gunplay found in Watch Dogs. Most players might not exactly remember what Aiden Pierce was actually capable of. The John Wick style action gameplay is surprisingly complex, something YouTubers like Visceral Carnage have made popular in recent years. However, the Elite Hacker game had a level of combat that some third-person shooters never managed to replicate, at least for players who dove all the way into the original Watch Dogs combat. Releasing a standalone version of Alone that emphasized that combat against dystopian nightmare robots where players aren't penalized for for slaughtering them could take the series in a interesting new direction, with players still finding issues with Watch Dogs Legion as it arguably fails to live up to other Ubisoft titles. The developer should consider reminding players that there is a level of depth under the game's surface. Not only can Alone express the true depth of stealth systems by expanding on what the minigame already offers, it can bring new players into the fold of what Watch Dogs already offers as well. Beyond giving the franchise another chance at its established formula, the nature of Alone's dark atmosphere makes it a strong candidate for developing new multiplayer for Watch Dogs, introducing multiple player-run factions warring over the same stretch of Ubisoft's flavored virtual city the game takes place in could be the ultimate sandbox for testing out multiplayer functionality. Players can be given covert hacking assignments, assassinations, or plunge enemy factions into the darkness by restarting generators could make a living, breathing city under Alone's dark atmosphere. Yep, so that's the whole entire article, guys. So yeah, I think basically what this is saying is that it should actually bring a Ubisoft should make a game, a standalone game very similar to what Alone brought and stuff, like a stealth type game similar to Alone in a dystopian, futuristic, post-apocalyptic robot type game and stuff like that. That'll be actually pretty cool. But there's also, at the same time, it's also talking about how Watch Dogs Legion can capitalize on this too by adding some extra game modes in there that is very similar, of course. Like, I wonder if the reason why this article was made, because I haven't seen anything about the digital trips in a while. I wonder if it has to do with this person, whoever wrote this, may have saw my one recent video about how I was talking about how Watch Dogs Legions Online should actually bring the digital trips back. The digital trips are something super special that Ubisoft should really consider bringing back, because these were groundbreaking modes, like super groundbreaking. Like, it goes above and beyond your average mini game. Like, this is almost like an actual game itself. It's its own game in its own self, actually. Like, these are like game modes that could be considered its own game. Like, it's just that groundbreaking. So that's all I just wanted to talk about and stuff today. But yeah, Watch Dogs Legion could either bring that game mode they could bring it, or Ubisoft could make a standalone. But I would say bring it to Legion, because it obviously will be more cheaper, so you don't have to create another game and just keep updating Legion, like I said, because we want the Watch Dogs franchise to succeed. We don't want it to be going as under another brand. Just advertise it all over and stuff with Legion. Say, hey, we got all this content. Just keep updating it. Ubisoft updates their stories on social media a lot by trying to advertise what games are coming and all that kind of stuff, or game modes for Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, like anything like that. That's what they do. They can just advertise all this, and the players would be like, oh, I should try this out. You know what? I'll play it. And then, you know what? They start playing it. The Watch Dogs franchise is really redeemed. And yeah, that's the whole idea. I think Ubisoft would do a great job. They put their mind to it, of course. They can make a really good game, and so much great post-launch content that it can draw some people over from like other games, of course, like Grand Theft Auto Online, because so many people play Grand Theft Auto Online because of all the post-launch content after 8 years, almost 8 years actually, and Watch Dogs 1 is going on 7 years, and yeah, that's crazy how much time has passed already. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. ZombfectedGaming 349 over and out. Make sure you subscribe, and ZombfectedGaming 349 over and out. Alright, goodbye.